of what they've been doing the last couple of weeks and keeping everybody updated and working, very hard to keep all information going and fluid in regards to what's happening with the COVID-19 pandemic. Not only in keeping our residents safe, but also keeping the staff safe and our first responders safe as well. So I appreciate not only our first responders and all the work that they're doing out there every day amongst the public, but also our staff for all their hard work on sorting through all the information and making sure that it's put out there properly for everybody to understand, and for going through the many, many meetings that it takes not only to put together a meeting like this, but just all the other things that it takes to run a village now. If anybody's working from home, you tend to notice that in order for anything to occur, you need to over-communicate. You need to communicate in order to get anything done. So in this case, with all the information that's coming into the village in regards to what's going on with COVID-19, I do appreciate all the hard work that everyone has done there to get that information back out and try to keep everybody as safe as possible. So thank you for that. I'd like to thank the school board for their offer of using the field house for tomorrow's election. We have some other information that will be forthcoming in the next item on the agenda about the election, but the school board was very gracious in allowing us to use the field house if the election does go forth as planned tomorrow. And I do appreciate all the hard work that they put into that to make that available for us so that we could kind of spread everybody out, but also have enough distancing amongst everyone that would come to vote to help keep them safe. And I would also appreciate anybody that was going to be or is going to be at the polling place and working tomorrow, not only trying to keep everybody safe and at a safe distance, but also disinfecting all the areas that the public will be working with or coming to. We'll have somebody working very hard to wipe surfaces off and make sure that everything is as clean as we possibly can get it with the products that we have there to do that with. So that's pretty much takes care of my President's report tonight. So we'll go on to the next item, which is the announcements of forthcoming events of public interest, committee and department reports, and we'll start off with the village clerk and the update that she has on tomorrow's voting.
Thank you. Yes, thank you to the school board for the use of the field house in a very short notice. At this time there will be an election tomorrow on April 7th. The poll at the field house will open at 7 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. There has been information given about the change of the polling location to the newspapers, social media, the website, as well as with signage. We have signage for the DPW to post tomorrow morning very early at the different polling locations. Thank you to the election workers, Village Hall staff, and the National Guard for coming forward. We have a number of Village Hall staff that is filling in for the workers that have not been able to work. Currently, there are 50% of the absentee ballots in place of the registered voters. So tomorrow there will be already a large turnout of central count and absentee voting. Come out and vote. We do have PPE for the election workers, masks and gloves, as well as sneeze guards. The DPW has made sneeze guards for protection between the voters and the election workers, and they have gloves and masks as well. Does anyone have any questions about tomorrow's election?
I don't have any. I think you've been doing a great job in getting it all set up and all the various changes that have come at you. I think your department's been handling it very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, then we'll go on to announcements of forthcoming events of public interest with committee and committee reports. We'll start with committee chairs. I don't know, Art, do you have availability of sound yet?
I do. You hear me or not?
I hear you.
Very good. Yeah, General Government and Finance will be meeting 2 weeks from now on April 20th at 6 p.m. in that chapter room.
Very good. Thank you.
Phil.
What's he
Trustee
saying?
Kaminsky.
Public Works, so it will be meeting this Wednesday, April 8th at 6 p.m. via WebEx. We will not be meeting in Village Hall, that's been changed. We'll be meeting via WebEx. And I'm sure that the information will be placed on the Village website for people to join if they want to.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Hughes.
Safety's next meeting will be May 4th, 6 o'clock tentatively in the boardroom, but stay tuned.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything else for forthcoming events of public interest, committee or department reports they'd like to bring forward? Give me a second, just in case you. Give me a second, just in case No other reports? Then we'll go on to citizen input and public appearance on items not subject to a public hearing. Then we'll go on to citizen input and public appearance on items not subject to a public hearing. I think that back is coming from the village hall. I think that back is coming
Maybe everybody should. They don't even use
I just asked Michelle to mute all of the microphones except for mine.
Yeah.
And what we're having is if you are watching the meeting, if you have a microphone or a phone and you're close to a screen and a speaker, you're going to create feedback. So what we'll do from this point on is we'll keep the trustees' microphones open, and then if President Walter will ask for certain groups to maybe A through E, if there are residents who have a public comment, we can take those in an orderly manner, and then Ms. Tucker will unmute those microphones so that those people can make their comments to the village board and move on. After those comments are done, then we'll mute the non-trustee microphones. We'll unmute staff as needed to answer questions, but we'll keep the other phones muted so that we don't get the feedback like we were just experiencing.
All right. My microphone back on then?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
All right, then we have now next is citizen input and public appearance on items not subject to a public hearing. There is no public hearing on tonight's agenda, but if there are those that are either watching or within the village hall that would like to come forward for citizen input or public appearance, I would like to start with those that have a last name that start with either A through E, and then those that do wish to state something, just state your name and your address for the record. Is there anyone wishing to state for citizen input or public appearance with last names of A through E?
So if you're on the call right now through your computer and you can raise your hand, I can recognize you and unmute you that way. Like David Baum, I think, raised his hand.
No, I didn't raise my hand.
Okay.
I would like to interject that I have several emails to read as well.
Why don't you go ahead and read those while people are trying to indicate to me that they want to talk?
Okay. All right. The first one, this is from Julie PYNE of Heritage Hills Parkway. She says, I am writing to request that all trustees and village president vote no Monday, April 6th on the Viridian proposal to develop a new subdivision at Kinderberg Park. Please preserve this natural open space for all to enjoy for years to come. Thank you for your consideration. The next one is from Jeff Holmes. It's in regards to pending Donjas Bay property sale and single-family housing development. Dear Village of Germantown officials, Thank you for taking time to consider the following endorsement for the sale and development of idle property located on Donges Bay Road. As the district no longer has a need for that property, and knowing that Meridian Homes is a capable, reputable developer of single-family housing opportunities throughout Wisconsin, our administrative team is highly supportive of their latest plan that the Village of Germantown trustees are considering on April 6th. While the sale price is significantly reduced as a result of ongoing process, the potential tax revenue and students into the district would be of great benefit to us and the village over time. The additional single-family housing also helps support the manufacturing growth the village has aggressively sought over the past 7 years by providing more homes in greater proximity to that growth. We appreciate your support in helping us move Germantown School District forward as a quality educational service organization that its stakeholders may continue to be proud of for a modern age in fiscally responsible manner. Signed by Jeff Holmes and Rick Erickson. The next is from Lynn and Armin Doyle, DOHL. We are voting no to the Meridian proposal and ask that the land at Kinderberg Park is preserved. Next is from Denise McKenzie, Montgomery Drive. She says, for what it's worth, I have been hearing a lot of chatter from many Germantown residents who live in and around Kinderberg Park, whom I know that they are not in favor of developing the land. The school board owns south of Kinderberg Park. I think it would be best for community relations between its residents in the village and its residents and the school board to not vote on rezoning of that land on Monday evening, April 6th, allowing only 10 attendees because of the COVID-19 social distancing guidelines. There's a major voting day taking place in this community literally 12 hours later, and the community as a whole deserves the right and time to understand the outcome and apply that to their voting decisions. I think the right thing to do and the fair thing to do is to postpone the vote on the rezoning of the school board land being sold to Meridian Homes to the COVID-19 social distancing guidelines no longer apply, and a normal meeting with normal attendance and normal notice of meeting guidelines can be followed. We are in a time of unprecedented crisis in our community and our country, as none of us have ever seen in our lifetimes. It is time for us to come together and make decisions that are in the best interest of all. I am grateful for the right to provide input. I love this community, and I have lived here for 34 years and raised my children here and put them through Germantown schools. My oldest will be graduating the Medical College of Wisconsin in 2023, serving in the United States Navy as a physician. My youngest just took a position with the Milwaukee Tool as a sourcing analyst. The schools and community of Germantown were a great influence on them. Stay safe, stay healthy. God bless you and your families. Sincerely, Denise McKenzie, Montgomery Drive. Next is from Terry Cheddar of Wilson Drive. Most of you know I've been involved in the issue involving the land south of Kinderberg Park for quite some time. There has been much debate and many requests regarding what this parcel of land should look like. For over the past year, I have voiced my opinion that if this land is going to be developed as a single-family housing, it should be consistent, if not better, than surrounding neighborhood. Meridian Homes has listened to the village board's requests and has brought forth a concept plan that meets the criteria that has been asked for. After carefully evaluating all facets involved in the development of this land, I agree that the proposed concept plan submitted with this rezoning request should be strongly considered and approved. Reviewing the proposed concept plan, I believe that Viridian Homes has listened to my concerns expressed over the past year in what would be acceptable for this development. It is my belief that the submitted concept plan of the 16-home development is well thought out and addresses the concerns to maintain the requirements of strict RS4 zoning, along with maintaining a substantial amount of green space within the development. In support of this zoning request, I respectfully request you vote to approve the request and consider adding the following conditions. First, the approval should tie in proposed concept plan so materially significant variances are not proposed and blindly approved in the future. Second, I believe there should be a condition to protect the east property line of this development from the Heritage Hills subdivision. The existing tree line is full of overgrown buckthorn. I do not believe conditions 1, 2, and 3 of the Plan Commission recommendation adequately address this side of the property. Please consider adding in a condition to add an adequate landscape buffer to the east property line of the development. In addition, as the village further develops, I would like to request a strong consideration is made to the future development of underdeveloped land and to enhance any and all remaining green space in the southeastern portion of the village into or expand parks or wildlife areas for residents of Germantown to truly enjoy. Next is from Jennifer Glidden and Wayne Cox of Winsong Circle East. We oppose the Viridian proposal and urge all village trustees to vote no on the proposal. And they included Friends of Kinderberg Park. Contact your village trustee to vote no for the Viridian proposal. The village board is set to cast a final vote on the proposal. If they vote to approve the proposal, Germantown will lose all potential public use of the land south of Kinderberg Park forever. The Viridian change of land to RS4 proposal is on the agenda for the next village board meeting on Monday, April 6th at 7 p.m. Next is from Mike Pine and family. Our family has lived next to Kinderberg Park for the last 26 years. The natural beauty, wildlife sounds, and all the fresh air is much too valuable for our citizens to let go to this development. Please vote no on the Viridian proposal. Next is from Robert and Rita Fitzgerald of Winsong Circle East. You are scheduled to be voting on the approval of the Viridian Homes subdivision this evening, now without sufficient notification to village residents on how and when to participate in the decision process. For this reason, it would only make sense to reschedule the decision to a time after the coronavirus pandemic has passed, when all residents will be able to participate. Rapid modification of the agenda items and method for participation and input cannot happen as this process is currently set up. Another factor in your decision-making today needs to be the possible viability of the subdivision completion. The pandemic and current halt to the economy will certainly affect the home building business and market in a major way. Previous recessions, depressions, and generally tough economic times have resulted in subdivisions sitting for years in an incomplete state, creating an eyesore ecological hazard and blight. Given the uncertainty of our economic future, the development should not be allowed to go forward. If the subdivision is allowed to progress, the village should require a bond be posted by the developer that would ensure the subdivision be completed in less than 12 to 18 months. And all properties maintained as if they were occupied, or require that the building site be returned to its condition prior to any earth removal or regrading. Again, that's from Robert and Rita Fitzgerald of Windsong Circle East. The next one is from Brian Dole. He states, I am requesting the village board table the vote for zoning of 104 W14942 Donjas Bay Road until after the COVID-19 pandemic has passed, as myself and other residents did not get proper notice and our rights have been violated. There should not be a vote on the property in question while the village board currently ratifies the emergency proclamations of open meetings. The village board needs to give residents sufficient time to be made aware of meeting by mailing notices and allow residents to understand the new protocols that are being approved this evening. The vote on this proposal should not occur until the COVID-19 pandemic has passed and residents have had enough time to be properly notified, as this was the case in 2019. But unlike in 2018 and now, in 2019, the village board mailed out notices to residents within 1,000 feet of property for public hearings for both the Plan Commission and village board meeting regarding the proposal, but the village only sent notice for the Plan Commission public hearing for March 9. Where is the mailing for the village board meeting for this proposal? Additionally, the village of Germantown committed to erecting signage on Kinderberg Park, alerting residents to information about public hearings to go to the village website, but information at the website provides no information to residents about tonight's public hearing under the legal notices tab. The village failed to put notice under the legal notice tab, keeping residents in the dark as to what is happening, just like in December of 2018. This proposal is not a priority, and all efforts should be made to deal with the pandemic. Lilibeth Stewart has comments as well. She's from Windsong Circle. Good evening, Village Board President, members of the board, and village staff. My name is Lilibeth Yao, and I have lived in the village of Germantown for 24 years. Later tonight, the village board will vote on Viridian's proposal and its RS4 zoning request for land adjacent and south of Kinderberg Park. How we got to this point, I believe, is a series of unfortunate events that included residents' lack of attention, actions that satisfy what is legal versus what makes sense and what is right, fueled by an entity that operated like a separate silo, void of any common vested interest with the rest of the village it serves. It is regrettable that a short-sighted solution was acted on instead of opting for investment that would uphold Germantown quality of life and benefit generations for years to come. At no time are community assets like open space more precious than during this period of shelter at home. After extended hours of being indoors, walking by Kinderberg Park interjects a breath of fresh air to one's body and a level of calm to one's mind during the time of uncertainty. It is sad for me to imagine that this open land at issue tonight might be soon cemented over and openness soon be constricted by mountainous rooftops. In the years to come, I wonder if everyone involved will be able to take pride in the actions that they took and how they decided about the future of this piece of land, a land that is now part of a dwindling asset in a growing village. While I am disappointed that the board appears to be ready to approve the rezoning request and let Viridian build on this parcel that was previously slated for parkland in the 2020 plan, I will respectfully remind the board that the concerned citizens of Germantown who have spoken out in opposition of this plan for the last year intend to diligently watch to make sure the final Viridian plan and actual construction does not materially deviate from the 16-lot plan, but forward as part of this zoning request. If approved tonight, we expect nothing less than for the actual subdivision to match at a minimum the plan on which zoning approval was based in every way. As always, I thank the board for their consideration and time. Next, we have a comment from Dick Zack in regards to the recycle center. He says, as I looked into and through the phone calls, I discovered that the recycling center is closed until further notice. As the weather warms, the yard's worked on, a true need for ridding of the debris that will become more so in the not so near future. I learned that it was closed due to the current health situation. I understand the health concerns for worker at the recycling center. I do not wish to expose or create potential health risk for them or any of the people using the center. I'm sorry, I lost my point. However, all those elements of concerns can be addressed and done with planning and good communication. The attendant does not have to jeopardize themselves because they can maintain a safe distance from the cars. The attendant can control the amount of cars, people in the center throughout the hours to ensure people maintain safe distance. Areas can be marked or sectioned off to designate where they can go while in the center. With a bit of planning and work, it can be done. If the center is not open and the people of this village accumulate more and more yard debris, there will be a growing sense of frustration. It can be done, it can be planned, communicated, executed during this current state of medical situation. Also, people will have to wait and be patient in line. In this time of challenges, it would be nice to have village service active to help us address our needs. I would appreciate a timely response with stated plan or thought going forward related to this matter. I did have something from Jan Miller, and she sent an email that she would like to speak.
Okay, is that it for email responses then?
That is it for email responses. Thank you.
Thank you. Since we had an issue with backfeed and a lot of background noise when we opened up the mics of everybody that was participating, what we're going to do is we're going to have our moderator, which is Michelle Tucker, go to each person that is now participating in the WebEx and ask them if they would like to say something during the citizen input public appearance part. If you're on and watching because of you're interested in the agenda of the meeting and you have sent an email and are going to pretty much reiterate what you've already sent, I would ask them that you would say that your statement that you sent your email in is pretty much says it, or if you wanted to add something, I'm not against that, I guess. But I'm going to have Michelle then go to each of the participants and ask if they'd like to say anything as part of citizen input or public appearance, and I would still ask for the village clerk's sake for you to state your name and your address so that we can put it into the record.
I am going to go down the list from the top, so we're going to start with Misty Marvin. Misty, do you have something that you wanted to add? Okay, I'm going to move on then. Bob Fitzgerald is next.
You read my letter, my email, and I just want to reemphasize the fact that we are in unusual times, and it would appear as though starting a subdivision and having a contractor make the kind of investment that's required to get this started, and then run the risk of possibly going bankrupt or just running out of cash for a period of perhaps a couple of years, it's going to be a real risk that the village would be taking if they let this go forward. Thank you.
Thank you for your input.
All right, so we have 6 call-in users. I'm actually going to unmute all 6 at the same time. So if you are calling in and you're not on the computer and you wanted to say something, you'll be able to do so. Take your turns, please. Any of our call-in users want to?
This is Jan Miller. Can you hear me?
Yes?
Okay. I'd like to make a comment about the Donges Bay property south of Kinderberg Park. Good evening, everyone. Village president, trustees, WebEx users, and phone-in people. I am not there personally because I'm at high risk, and I would never come to a public building when basically the world is saying stay home. So back to the Donges Bay property south of Kinderberg Park, my request is that all of the trustees individually vote no. And I'm asking you to vote no, not only because it's a subdivision that I have stood up in front of the village board and opposed, and I've also stood up in front of the school board and opposed, and I've also stood up in front of Viridian Homes and opposed it. But because the real reason the school board wanted to sell the property is no longer a valid factor. The original appraisal for the property and the price for the land is $690,000, and that was back in 2017. The school board has, as Jeff Holmes just stated in his email, the school board dropped the price to $150,000. It is approximately 15 acres. This is not, dropping the price is not a behavior of a public entity for a public piece of property that is in dire need of funds. It's an 80% discount. It has taken the school board over 2 years to get to this point because they didn't ask the public in advance if it was okay to change the 2020 land use plan, which the property was supposed to be a park or a school, and that's it. I, as a taxpayer, object to the sale of Kinderberg property because there's still a notice of claim from the school board to the village board for $540,000. What if the village board's insurance will not pay for the notice of claim? That means that the Germantown village taxpayers will pay all or a portion of the $540,000. I doubt that the school board is going to drop this notice of claim. That's my opinion. I have lived here in the Kinderberg Park neighborhood. I live in Windsong subdivision, W151 and 10297 Windsong Circle. Forgot to give my address. For over 25 years, and I believe that the land is priceless. So it's at least worth $690,000. It's the village, it has to pay the school board $540,000 for the land on the notice of claim. Then the residents should have to say on how it's utilized. The residents have been walking through that park, enjoying the park, and quite frankly, believe that it is part of the park. And the only difference that Germantown is going to have is keeping the green spaces open and welcoming people that way. So it's a matter of principle. I don't want to pay 80% of the land value to the school board and have Viridian only pay 20% for 5 acres, for 15 acres. I also don't want the land to be built on because I agree with Bob Fitzgerald. We're in a pandemic right now. People are not moving. One of the riskiest investments, I think, would be to buy a home or build a home. And so what would happen to the land? If you pass this, they will hold it, but they have to build. And I don't see that happening. I can't see 16 families clamoring to buy a new home. I don't see it. So I want the board to remember, the village board, the school board, to remember that we are the residents, we are the taxpayers, and we are your employer. And we have had countless people come before the village board regarding this issue to vote no. It's never good enough. It's never going to be good enough. And we just want it to be the way it is. So I respectfully ask all of the village trustees to vote no, as we have requested. And don't vote based on pressure from Viridian or other trustees or the school board. Vote your heart, vote for green space. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
Do any of the other call-in users want to speak? All right, then the next person is Kathy, and I'm not going to say your last name because I don't want to butcher it. Okay. Deborah Denton is next. Then we have Joe R.
Michelle, I sent you a chat. This is Deb Denton.
Yes.
Are you able to read the chat?
I can't at this moment.
All right, let me get my headset.
Do you want me to read what you wrote?
All right, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Good evening, everyone. I live at W148N10658, Crabtree Lane, just north of the tennis courts at Kinderberg Park. I have emailed all trustees today several times with the message that I am not in support of the Viridian proposal in any way. We need to, number one, stick with the 2020 land use plan, which is a large reason that my husband and I built next to Kinderberg Park 21 years ago. And number two, do not vote on this issue this evening, because those of the many of us who are 100% against the Viridian proposal want to be there in person at the meeting so that we have the opportunity to stand up in front of the village board as a three-dimensional person and request in person that they do not allow Viridian to go forward with this proposal. Many of us are at high risk with the COVID-19 situation, and it is completely unacceptable to assume that connecting virtually to a meeting that means so much to all of us, our families, and our future is acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Next we have Joe R. Joe, did you have a comment? Okay, and then we have K.J. Schultz.
Hi there, my name is Carrie Schultz. I also live in the Winston subdivision. I second Robert Fitzgerald's concerns and believe that the Viridian development project should be delayed until we understand the economic aftermath as a result of the current COVID pandemic. I also ask that the village trustees vote no at this time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments.
All right. Next is Christine Huber.
I have no comment.
Okay. And we have Lawrence, is that Larry? Do Lawrence or Elizabeth have comment?
This is Lily Beth. Thank you, Deanna, for reading my comments earlier. I just want to quick agree on the Fitzgerald's concern about development of that piece of land south of Kinderberg. Thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you for your comments.
Next is Lynn, and I did actually get a chat from Lynn. And Lynn, if you want me to read it, I can go ahead and do that. It said that she would like to comment that recently she saw a nest in the property for a few, wait, sorry, let me start over, it scrolled on me. She wants to comment that recently she saw a male and female hawk in the proposed Viridian location. And if they have a nest in the property location, aren't hawks protected? Perhaps that needs to be looked at as part of preserving the property. Next is Mary. Mary, did you have a comment?
Hi, this is Mary Hudson. I live in Winsong subdivision as well, and based upon my previous emails and comments at board meetings, I am against the development. And now especially, I think it's a great point in regards to the real estate market coming up. I really have a doubt that this development will be timely. And with them continually dumping fill, I really am very concerned about the aesthetics of the surrounding neighborhoods. And so at this point, I would urge you all again to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
All right, next is McCudney. And then we have Mike. Okay, and then we have Pat Bloom.
Yes, I just support everyone that has had reason to say no to the development. And I think especially with what's going on with the pandemic, it's not the right time to make this decision. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Then we have P. Casson, which I think is going to be for later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then we have Terry. Terry, did you want to add to your email? All right, that is everybody on the list.
All right. Thank you all for your comments. Thank you all for your input and for reaching out via email, and also for taking time tonight to express further comments in regards to this topic. If there are no one else, or there is no one else for some input or public comments, go to consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve items A through E on the consent agenda.
All right, give me 1 second. I gotta fix everybody's settings.
Could you say it again?
All right, we have a motion. Did I hear a second?
Second. I really don't want him in here.
And who was the second?
Rick Miller.
Thank you. Still working
would just ask the trustees to mute themselves if they are not talking.
We have a motion and a second for consent agenda items A through E. Is there any discussion on the motion to approve? You can either raise your hands or wave so that Michelle knows that you have discussion. Any discussion? If there is no discussion, we'll do a roll call vote.
Trustee Baum?
Aye.
Trustee Miller? Trustee Miller?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Oh, I can now. Okay.
Okay, aye.
Trustee Hughes?
Phone by your computer?
Trustee Kaminsky?
Aye.
Trustee Myers? Trustee Myers? We'll come back to Trustee Myers. Trustee Warren?
Aye.
Trustee Wing?
Aye.
Trustee Zabel? Trustee Zabel? We'll come back. Trustee Myers? Trustee Zabel?
I read his lips, he said aye.
Oh, okay. President Walter?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Takes care of all items on consent agenda. That would then take us to old business. We have one item listed under old business, which is the COVID-19 coronavirus update. And I believe our village administrator, Steve Kripke, will give us an update on what's going on within the village and some of the precautions that we're taking, and give us an update on the COVID-19. Steve.
Thank you, President Walter. Actually, at this point, I might ask our police chief and fire chief to give us some quick updates. They provided information to the Public Safety Committee earlier this evening, and I think that may be of interest to the full board.
John?
So currently, the village of Germantown has 13 cases of the COVID-19 virus. They are spread out throughout the course of the village with pockets of heavier virus in two of the senior living facilities, Virginia Highlands and the Gables of Germantown. Also, the village of Germantown has had 3 deaths from the COVID-19 virus.
Mike?
Good evening, everyone. Early on, we quarantined 2 of our employees that were returning from trips out of state. Since that time, we've only had to quarantine 1 officer for just a couple days before he returned to work. He had contact with someone that was positive for COVID-19. Our PPE supplies are in pretty good shape right now. We received another stock of masks from the Sheriff's Department through their reserve stocks. And we're giving face masks basically for our officers to wear when they're contacting the public. I think our biggest challenge so far over the last week was just the order and kind of defining what essential businesses were and which ones were not essential. The order was somewhat lacking in there, and I know was put together quickly, so there was a lot of questions. But we're starting to get that sorted out. Businesses we've had to close have been cooperative. Our goal, as I said, in public safety is just to get compliance without having to take any enforcement. We have been successful in that. I think people are starting to settle in a little bit on the kind of the new norm. So no real issues over this last few days.
Thank you.
If I could add one more thing, Mr. President?
Yes, absolutely.
We do have one of our ambulances designated as a transfer unit for people who have COVID-19 like symptoms, so we do not contaminate our whole supply of equipment. Our equipment levels are in very good shape with the exception of thermometer covers. If there's anybody listening that has access to thermometer probe covers, we are in desperate need of those. Otherwise, our supplies are great.
And is that a certain size item, or is it one that, like you would have for your ear reading, or what does that look like, John?
It would be a temperature probe that goes under your tongue, like they would use in a clinic or in a hospital. It's probably 4 inches long and between 1/8 and 1/4 inch wide.
So is it a plastic piece that then goes over the thermometer tip?
That's correct.
Okay. Just so everybody understands what the probe cover, if they have one, what exactly it looks like and what you're looking for. So you don't receive boxes of the wrong ones.
Specifically, the brand we use, or the brand of our thermometers, is a Welch Allen, typical of most healthcare settings.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else to add to the information, Steve?
The one thing that I would add is that we have received several emails, phone calls. I know the trustees have as well regarding the recycling center, and with residents who would like to drop off brush, grass clippings, that type of thing. At this point, the recycling center is closed as we're adapting to the safer at home orders, and as we're catching up with some of the things that we've had to do to prepare for the election and other things, we'll take a look at whether or not it's possible to We'll see what we can do to get that open, at some point here. But we do have to make sure that we're able to do it in a way that keeps the residents and the employees safe.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Mr. President, if I could jump in too.
Sure. Village Attorney.
So kind of related to COVID, also kind of related to Deanna's update earlier. You probably have seen me if you're watching my camera at all, kind of watching another screen that I have here. The U.S. Supreme Court just issued a decision in the federal court cases that have been pending. If you'll recall, that is the case that dealt with extending the absentee ballot deadline. And the Supreme Court did change significantly that ruling. Under the Supreme Court's ruling, any absentee ballots will need to either be, in order to be counted, must either be postmarked by tomorrow, and then received by April 13th, which was the date that was originally identified, or it needs to be hand-delivered as required otherwise under state law by 8 o'clock tomorrow. And so the difference there is that you really need to, if you have an absentee ballot and you are holding on to it for some reason, you either need to drop it off at the polling locations tomorrow, or to make sure that it gets to the post office and postmarked with a date of tomorrow, because anything after that will not be counted under the Supreme Court's ruling.
Okay. All right, thank you for that update. Anything else under old business of COVID-19 coronavirus update? Not. We'll go back then to, next item is public hearings, but there are no public hearings listed on tonight's agenda. The reason for that is the public hearing for, and everyone has made a couple comments in regards to the notice of a public hearing for the village board meeting on Veridian. I will notice because there's no public hearing. It was held as part of the Plan Commission agenda, and it was noticed for the Plan Commission, and it was actually held, and that is why there's no public notice, and there were no public notices sent out for the public hearing at tonight's meeting because there was no need for a public hearing at tonight's village board meeting because we already held it at the Plan Commission. So then we'll start with new business item A, and new business item A is a resolution 28-2020, a resolution ratifying COVID-19 emergency proclamation number 1, which implements provisions of the Families First Coronavirus Response Act.
Mr. President, if I could just jump in before somebody makes a motion. I know that at least a couple of the emails had raised concerns about the fact that we have these proclamations and the ratification of the proclamations and how that all works. And so I just wanted to just briefly, I know the board all remembers this probably from our last meeting when we did the emergency declaration itself, but just to let the members of the public understand, under statute, the village president is authorized to make certain proclamations to deal with the emergency situation that we are under. Those proclamations by statute must be dealt with by the full village board as soon as they are able to meet. And when I say dealt with, I mean they can ratify it, which means that they're just going to affirm what the resolution says. They can modify it, they can reject it totally, whatever the case may be. And obviously in each of these cases, staff's recommendation will be to approve all three and ratify all three. But irrespective, even if you chose to reject all three, the fact that you have rejected those doesn't change the effectiveness of those orders otherwise. And so the best example would be the proclamation number 2, which is item B on new business. If you guys would reject that or modify it in some way, that would apply on a moving forward basis. It would change the fact that this is an otherwise legal meeting by statute. So hopefully that helps clarify that a little bit for everybody.
Okay, thank you.
You ready for a motion?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve emergency proclamation number 1 as presented.
Second.
Motion made, seconded by trustee Warren.
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion to approve? No discussion. I'll give it a couple seconds.
Art has something.
Okay. Trustee Zabel. Trustee Zabel?
Is he working with Michelle?
He has not been. I have been helping Dennis, though.
Art, we can't hear you.
Trustee Myers?
Looking for Art has a question or a discussion point under new business item A. We can't get to him.
Can you type it into the chat?
I think Art's trying to dial in.
got Art, you trying to dial in, Art? A couple more minutes here.
Okay, I hear you.
All right, there you are.
Oh,
Gotcha. Yeah, I hear you.
okay, what it amounts to, looking through the list of people that are on this list of emergencies, I don't see anybody from Park and Rec or from Building Inspection. Are those offices still functioning, or are they not considered an emergency?
I could,
Administrator.
Mr. President, I think there's a difference as we define these in emergency versus essential. And some of our Park and Rec staff are still working. Some of them have actually been assigned to other functions. Are like the election, for example, and inspection is still working. But for the definitions that we're working with here, we consider them to be essential but not emergency.
So if they are essential, that it wouldn't make much difference, they would still go, correct?
I think under the definitions of the federal law changes that we're trying to pass this for, and it affects how they're treated under family and medical leave. We felt under the definitions, and we worked with Von Briesen on this. We looked at what other communities were including, that the building inspection and the Park and Rec folks would probably not fit the category of emergency for this purpose.
Okay, then I'm just wondering, because you, in the process of doing this, also follows the recycling center, which you are going to be looking at now, if I understand?
Yes, Public Works, our Public Works employees are included in this proclamation.
Right, and so is the wastewater and water utilities.
Right.
And my understanding, if I heard you correctly, that you were going to be looking at possible ways of opening the recycling center with honestly get notices of the separation of bodies and there's only so many people in the unit at one time?
We are. I've talked with the Public Works Director today. We're going to see what's possible with with staffing and with the requirements as we're getting better adjusted to kind of the new situation. And again, I'd separate out the employees for the sewer utility are included here as emergency responders, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we look at the recycling center. That's only one of their functions as an emergency operation. It'd be more on the lines of the lift stations and the sewage conveyance system. But you also are correct. We are going to take a look at the recycling center.
Did you keep the people posted? I know there's been quite a few emails that have been gone out to different people on that.
We will. We'll probably won't get a chance in the next couple of days to take a look at this because both management, myself, and other management and the public works staff are very involved in the setup of the election, the takedown, the storage of the equipment, the cleanup, that type of thing, which is going to keep us pretty well occupied for the next couple of days. But as soon as we get through that, we'll take a look at it and we'll get some information out to the public.
Very good.
Any other discussion? No other discussion? If there's no other discussion, then we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Baum?
Aye.
Trustee Warren?
Aye.
Trustee Hughes?
Aye.
Trustee Kaminsky?
Aye.
Trustee Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Myers?
I'm voting aye on his behalf.
Okay.
He's conveying it to you.
Yes.
Trustee Wing? Trustee Zabel?
Aye.
President Walter?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Does Trustee Wing have his phone by his computer, or is it the microphone that's maybe causing some of that? Because when he comes on, boy, you can really hear some backfeed.
Trustee Wing braved the pandemic to join me in the meeting room here this evening, and unfortunately, I don't know if it's something with the acoustics in here or the sound system, but it doesn't seem to like his laptop. It was fine for the public safety meeting earlier this evening, but we're having some challenges, so he's gonna, when he wants to speak, he'll use my laptop and speak over here.
Okay, all right, good, we found a solution. All right, very good, then motion passes. Next item under new business is item B, resolution 29-2020, resolution ratifying COVID-19 emergency proclamation number 2, concerning the location and handling of public meetings.
I'll make a motion to, second.
Who introduced the motion?
I did, Art.
Okay, Art made the motion and Trustee Baum seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? Couple seconds. Any discussion? There's no discussion.
Oh,
go ahead. Trustee Zabel.
Maybe this is the time to reiterate what the clerk has said, that there will only be one polling place, and it will be at the high school field house.
That is correct. That there will only be one polling location at the field house with resolution 30-2020. Yes.
Be number 3, yes. This is number 2, Art. Art, your motion was to approve number 2, which deals with the handling of public meetings.
No problem.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? There's no other discussion, we'll do roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zabel?
Aye.
Trustee Baum?
Aye.
Trustee Hughes?
Aye.
Trustee Kaminsky?
Aye.
Trustee Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Myers? Trustee Myers?
I'm sorry, I was talking and I had it muted. I'm again voting yes for Trustee Myers.
Thank you. Trustee Warren?
Aye.
Trustee Wing?
Aye.
President Walter?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay. Next item under new business is item C, resolution 30-2020, which is a resolution ratifying COVID-19 emergency proclamation number 3 for combining and relocating poll locations for the April 7th, 2020 spring election and presidential preference vote.
Make a motion to approve emergency proclamation number 3.
Second. Trustee Warren is second.
Okay, thank you.
And seconded, discussion on the motion to approve. Seconds, any discussion? There's no discussion, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Baum?
Aye.
Trustee Warren?
Aye.
Trustee Wing?
Aye.
Trustee Zabel?
Aye.
Trustee Hughes?
Aye.
Trustee Kaminsky?
Aye.
Trustee Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Myers?
Aye for him.
President Walter?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item under new business is item D, resolution 31-2020, which is a resolution awarding the sale of $3,915,000 of general obligation promissory notes, series 2020A, in providing the form of the notes and levying a tax in the connection therewith. With us tonight, and also as part of our WebEx, we do have Phil Cosson, who is a representative from Ehlers, to give us some information in regards to today's bond sale. Phil?
Everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I wanted to kind of step back for a little bit because since I was there in early March to have this authorized, a lot has changed. And certainly everybody is well aware of what's happened in the financial markets over the last month and really the last about 3 weeks. But we have been very diligent in keeping village staff up to speed as to what's been occurring in the financial markets. Starting about mid-March, we had a number of communities that were going to be in the market to sell bonds and notes. And from case to case, in some cases we decided to proceed, and others we postponed sales. That was really a reflection of the disruption that we were seeing in the financial markets. And a lot of things are different than what we typically see when it comes to the municipal bond world. In the last week to 10 days, we have seen the stabilization of the municipal bond market, and that really came to fruition last week, and that was reflected today. So after some conference last Friday with Kim and Steve, we decided to proceed with the sale today with the knowledge that we always have the ability to reject bids if something goes awry. So today at 10:30, we took bids, kind of with our fingers crossed, to be truthful with you. Not exactly sure, knowing what we're going to see in the way of interest, one, and rates, two. And so what I'd like to do is kind of walk through our sale day report, which I understand may not be accessible for everybody. But I'm going to walk through kind of the results that took place today again at 10:30. So our first concern was what's going to happen with the number of bidders that may be lined up and willing to bid on the village's bonds. We ended up with 8 bids. And in the bid tabulation, which I know a lot of you don't have in front of you, we had not just 8 bids, but we actually ended up with the winning bid, which came from Robert Baird and Company, and a consortium of another roughly 20 underwriters that participated with them. So we had a lot of interest. And as a point of comparison, last spring when we did the village's 2019 capital borrowing, we had 3 bids at that time. So we had 8 bids that lined up and submitted this morning at 10:30. As I mentioned, Baird was the low bid at 1.7515%, and the gap between the low and high bid wasn't that significant. The high bid was 2.1136%, which is about $85,000 difference between the bids. So first thing that was really accomplished is that we did see a lot of interest, and we're really excited about that. Another point of comparison, the 1.7515% that was received today compares to, again, last spring when we sold the 10-year note for your 2019 capital borrowing was at 2.1869%. So significantly lower than what we saw last year this time around. We ended up with what's called a premium bid, and maybe I'll mention Baird was the winning bidder. We also had a lot of interest, not just Midwest, but nationally. We had Bankers Bank out of Madison, Piper Sandler out of Minneapolis, Northland Securities out of Minneapolis, BOK Financial out of Milwaukee, FHN Financial out of New York, KeyBank out of Cleveland, and Bernardi out of Chicago. So a wide range of of firms that set up not just locally in the Midwest, but nationally as well, that decided to bid. So there was a lot of interest, and we were very excited about the rates that were received, again, 1.7578%. As we have seen a great deal lately, this was a premium bid, and again, I've explained this to you in the past. I think several of your previous issues were premium bids. And what that means is that they provide you with some additional dollars, more money than your request, and then you have the option of what you do with those funds. And so two items, some of the premium was used to reduce the amount of the obligation. What you authorized was $3,915,000 last month. And if you look at the final resolution in tonight's packet, the amount to be issued is $3,875,000. So we're $40,000 less as a result of that premium. But as important, we were able to use the rest of the premium to put into the debt service fund, and essentially the debt service fund will be funded at a little short of $173,000. And what that will be used for is to make the interest payment on this note issue for 2020, 21, and a portion for 22. So it'll help make some debt service payment. This is a 10-year note, which is staying in practice with what the village has done previously when you start talking about your capital projects that you're going to be financing. So we're financing this over a 10-year period. And this is part of that larger plan that we had pulled together and provided you as an update, that 5-year capital plan. This is substantially better than the first issue that we had shown you in that plan. So this will set up the village going forward, and what is that the plan will be a little more affordable as you execute it over the next 5 years. We did go through and have a rating call as well. In that packet, there is the Moody's rating report, which we always include. The village's rating has not changed. It's still a AA2, very highly rated village, a great credit. And the factors that would lead to an upgrade or downgrade have not changed over the years. The upgrade possibility is to continue to grow and diversify your tax base and add to liquidity. Those are the two standards that have been there for quite a while. And the factors that could lead to a downgrade would be increased debt burden, failing tax increment districts, and/or a deterioration of the demographic profile of the village. So really, AA2 rating is excellent, and we're really happy that you're able to retain that. It's been a wild time in the financial markets. We tend to say that when the stock market goes down, there's a flight to quality, which is treasuries, which will drive down the 10-year treasury. If you follow the 10-year treasury, that has dropped significantly over the last couple of weeks. Typically, municipal securities follow the treasuries. There's been a gap in that trend this time around. So while we see historic lows in the 10-year treasury, we're not necessarily seeing historic lows in the municipal market because of the disruption. However, if you look at where we are over the last, 10 years, we're still we're near close to the bottom of the market when it comes to municipal debt. So a lot of interest, 8 bids, which was considerably more than last year. Rates at 1.75% for 10 years, which is excellent. And I'm really happy that we collectively, I say collectively, Kim, Steve, and myself talked, and I'm glad we were able to proceed with the sale. I think it turned out very well for the village, and I think the execution was very good.
Anybody have any questions?
I do.
Trustee Zabel?
Now, if I understood correctly, the buyback, the part of the interest, we're going to cover our interest payments for the next year and a half. So that, what does that affect? How does that affect our tax rate?
Yeah, I know you don't have it in front of you, but if you recall, when we put together that 5-year plan, Trustee Zabel, we ended up over the next couple of years as we built in the possibility of a public works building, we were showing the mill rate for debt increasing. And so this will help level out that possible increase that we are seeing due to the larger capital items that were being planned in the future. So if anything else, this is going to help kind of level out the mill rate during that time period.
The other question I have on you, if the market stays what it does it pay to look at some of our notes to refinance?
Well, yes, we always look. That we're on I would say a monthly basis, or even more often, that reviewing all the obligations of the municipalities that we serve and looking for refundings. The driver of what can be refunded many times is where the call date is. We're usually looking at call date and interest rate to determine whether or not they'd be a candidate. But we're always looking, and we'll take a look again in the next week or two, and for Germantown as well. But I can tell you, going into the sale, there wasn't anything that met those criteria.
I say if the interest rates stay where they do, I mean, just the difference between last spring and this one, but almost between the high and low bid are about $80,000.
Yeah, we'll take a look again, and we looked prior to working on this issue. So already in March, we were taking a look at if there were any refunding opportunities, and there weren't at that time, but we could take another look at it.
Okay. Hearing that, I put the motion on the floor for Resolution 31-2020 in the amount of $3,875,000, I believe.
Trustee Warren seconds that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? Discussion on the motion to approve. There is no discussion. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zabel?
Aye.
Trustee Warren?
Aye.
Trustee Wing?
Aye.
Trustee Myers?
I'm voting aye on his behalf.
Trustee Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Kaminsky?
Aye.
Trustee Hughes?
Aye.
Trustee Baum?
Aye.
President Walter?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Phil. Next item on the agenda is item E, ordinance 05-2020, rezoning from E to agricultural to RS4 single-family residential zoning district for a 16-lot residential development for Viridian Homes LLC, agent for Germantown School District, which is the property owner, located at North 104, West 14942, Dodge Bay Road. Give us some more information and some background on this new business item. We do have on our WebEx tonight our Community Development Director, Jeff Retzloff. Jeff. Muted?
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Very good.
A second.
All right, can you
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Matt Cudney with Meridian Homes, agent for the Germantown School District, is requesting approval of a rezone of a 14.7 acre parcel located on Preserve Parkway north of Donjas Bay Road from the A2 agricultural to the RS4 single family district, along with a concept plan for a 16 lot single family residential subdivision. As a result of the village board's action last August and September to deny the previous proposal to rezone the 14.7 acre property from A2 to RS5 and a 24 lot single family residential subdivision, a concept plan, Meridian Homes has revised the proposal to rezone the property from A2 to RS4 single family with a 16 lot concept plan. At the March 9th Plan Commission meeting, a public hearing of the revised proposal was held. Members of the public spoke both in favor and against the proposal. The proposal again for 16 single-family lots. The existing zoning is A2 agricultural, proposed RS4 single-family. The overall density, 1.09 dwelling units per acre gross. And after extracting wetlands and required rights-of-way, the density increases slightly to 1.21 dwelling units per acre. The lot size average is 27,000 square feet with a range of 20,800 square feet to 36,280 square feet. The proposal includes two features: a pedestrian trail connecting Donjas Bay Road, the multi-use path along Donjas Bay Road to the end of the cul-de-sac, and a landscape buffer along the Preserve Parkway along two of the adjacent budding lots, and also water main extension looping to Heritage Hills East subdivision to the east. With respect to the current 2020 land use plan, the map classification for the property is low-density residential for this and surrounding neighborhoods, which is intended for a density of approximately 1 dwelling unit per half acre with a minimum lot size of around 20,000 square feet. The proposal is generally consistent with the low-density residential classification. As we discussed in the past, there are 5 isolated small wetlands on the property. The developer has permission from the DNR to fill 4 of those. One wetland will be preserved, located in the southwest corner of the property. Wetland number 1 is shown on the graphic. As detailed in the staff report, the staff's opinion is that additional landscaping and buffering is required along various features or areas of the site. I've highlighted those here in yellow, or have clouded those along the north property line, abutting the backyards of those 4 lots. More or enhanced landscaping along the Preserve Parkway, and also landscaping along the back sides of the other lots adjacent to the open space in the southwest corner and along Donjas Bay Road to the south. Another item that we discussed at the Plan Commission, and as a result of the change in the overall concept plan to a single cul-de-sac, is the issue concerning cul-de-sac length. The length is approximately 775 feet. Generally, a cul-de-sac length of 500 feet is acceptable. Under our code, between 500 and 1,200 feet may be allowed after consideration of the zoning, the lot size, the number of lots served, and other road connections or accessibility to the development. In this case, the developer has proposed a emergency access combination pedestrian path to Donjas Bay Road from the end of the cul-de-sac between 2 of the lots as shown on the concept plan. Plan Commission recommendation is to approve the rezoning of 14.7 acres owned by the Germantown School District from the A2 agricultural to the RS4 single-family district, and the proposed 16-lot concept plan dated January 31, subject to 5 conditions. And if necessary, we can read through them. If there are any questions at this point, I will be glad to answer what I can. If not, we have Matt Cudney with Veridian, who has a couple of slides and would like to say a few words.
Okay, Matt.
Yes, good evening. Thank you. If you want to go to the first slide, actually you can flip to the second slide. I just want to remind the board, I'm sure you don't need reminding, that we've had considerable public comment and participation throughout this whole process. We've had several different meetings. Here's the rezoning timeline ahead before you. There were 9 different meetings that have been held, 5 before the village board. The last one is not listed on here tonight, but this is the 5th time we've discussed this project in front of the board. And if you remember way back when, in December of 2018, the village board did approve RS6 zoning on this particular project and in this particular area. During the reconsideration process on January 7th of 2019, there was a considerable amount of discussion about the zoning and the size of the lots. And if everybody remembers the color-coded map in terms of what was similar in different neighborhoods, the village board requested that this go back to the Plan Commission to reevaluate the proposal for, quote, consistency of the neighborhoods, but not as dense as RS6. So we've gone through that process, and we are now before you with an RS4 proposal. Jeff, would you like to go to the next one? Just to kind of reiterate a couple things that Mr. Retzlaff had in his presentation. The requirements in the low-density residential show a maximum of 2 dwelling units per acre, and our gross is 1.09 units per acre, which is 50% less about than what is allowed. And the minimum lot size is 20,000 square feet, and our average lot size is 30% larger than the minimum required. For the next slide, Jeff, we were talking about the RS4 zoning. And again, the net density here is not to exceed 2.2 units per acre. And if you'll notice on ours, the density is 1.21 net, which is 83% less than the maximum allowed. And this is the lowest zoning classification allowed that's not in a rural setting. But as we've gone through many of these meetings, Jeff, you can go to the next slide. The discussion has always been about what is consistent with the other. And you'll see on this particular slide the different neighborhoods that are either directly adjacent or kitty corner across from the proposed location. You can see the acreage, the number of lots, the gross density, open space, average lot size, and even the zoning of the different neighborhoods that are nearby. And you can see that the proposed RS4 zoning in this particular neighborhood area with 16 lots is considerably less than what is surrounding it. The lot size, the average lot size is considerably more, and the open space is considerably more. Jeff, you want to go to the last slide? Just for requesting approval, we've heard time and time again from the village board that they would like to see the density lower. I don't know how much lower you can go within the RS4 zoning in this area. Low density residential is consistent with the 2020 land use plan. And it's been recommended by each time for the rezoning classification request has been approved by staff each time. And as you can see from the previous slide, it is definitely consistent with the adjacent neighborhoods. We have had many discussions about this. We have gone through several hours and hours and hours of public comment, and I urge the board to approve this request tonight. And that's all I have, and I'm here if you have any questions.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cudney. Anyone have any questions of the Jeff or of representative from Veridian Homes, Matt Cudney? Questions? Board?
I will make motion to approve ordinance 05-2020 rezoning A2 agricultural to RS4 single-family residential zoning district or a 16-lot residential development for Veridian Homes as presented.
Second with discussion.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
I have a question for Brian.
Trustee Hughes, yes.
So, Brian, what is the status of the school board leaning on us for the difference in the price of the lots?
So the claim is still outstanding. They haven't taken any action on the claim at this point. So it is still a possibility that they could follow through with that. Obviously, as has been my recommendation to you folks all along, that's not a basis why we should make a decision here. If they follow through with the claim, they follow through with the claim. If they don't, they don't. But that's not a reason for us to make a decision here. It should be based solely on the merits of what's being presented.
Trustee Hughes, you still have the floor.
That answers my question.
Okay.
I got a question.
Trustee Baum.
Hey, Jeff, can you pull up the plan that shows the required landscape buffers? That's it. I would like to make a motion to amend item 3 of the comments to enhance the eastern property buffer to cut down the buckthorn that's there and the invasive species and plant enhanced trees similar to the other property areas shown on this map.
Second.
Motion made to amend and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to amend? No discussion. We're talking about the eastern border that runs along, what was that? That's Heritage Hills over there?
Yes, the right side of this plan.
Okay. And your motion is to remove invasives and plant with deciduous and fir and spruce, or to present a plan that can then be considered by the planner and approved?
Yes.
Okay. So everybody understands the motion. Any further discussion? No further discussion on the motion to amend? We'll do a roll call vote on the motion to amend, please.
Trustee Baum?
Aye.
Trustee Zabel?
Aye.
Trustee Wing?
Aye.
Trustee Warren?
Aye.
Trustee Myers? Trustee Myers?
I do not have a vote.
Okay. Trustee Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Kaminsky?
Aye.
Trustee Hughes? President Walter?
Aye. Are we putting Dennis down as abstained then, or how would Dennis be listed on the notes? As present?
Present.
Correct.
All right, thank you. All right, motion passes, so back to the motion. Further discussion on the motion as amended. Any further discussion?
I have a comment.
Trustee Kaminsky.
I think in the responses I gave to residents over the past several months, including today, I think it's important for us all to understand that the school board has a right to sell their property, and we cannot stop them from doing that. Our role is to make sure the development fits the neighborhood, basically. I've said it before and I've gotten in trouble for it. I would love to see that land be a park. That is not the reality, because the school board who owns the property does not want that to be a park. They want that to be developed for housing. And with that said, I do think Viridian Homes, with incredible degree of patience and perseverance, has come up with a plan that does fit the neighboring area. And for that reason, I will support the plan.
Okay. Further discussion on a motion as amended.
I'd like to.
I have a question.
Who is that?
Trustee Wing.
Trustee Wing?
I'm using Steve's.
Okay. There you go.
Questions for actually Brian, I talked with you a few weeks back about, is there any kind of verbiage we can put into this to keep them to 16 lots? My only fear would be that we zone this RS4. This is just a concept plan. It comes back, next year with more lots. You could see by Mr. Putney's presentation that they have room where I think there's lots that could be added. So is there a way that we could approve this with language that it has to stay with the concept plan of 6?
Yeah, and I apologize for, I know I promised I was going to get you some language, and then all of this emergency stuff blew up on me, and quite honestly, that I had forgotten you had even requested it. The answer is yes, that you could look to amend the motion to provide that the rezoning is contingent upon approval of a preliminary subdivision plat that is consistent with the concept proposal that was presented this evening.
So it matched the preliminary plat.
I would like to make that motion. I want to make sure that it indicates 16.
I'll second that.
So then your motion is to, the proposed subdivision cannot exceed 16 lots. It's 16 lots maximum, and the final plat must match in the number of lots the preliminary plat as we have seen it today. So it must match in number, but it could change in size depending on how sometimes different frontages change slightly. I mean, they are still within an RS4 or would be within an RS4 zoning, but you are limiting the number of cannot exceed 16.
Correct. I'm leaning in favor of this, and I finally delivering something that does match the surrounding area. But I think you can understand this has been very controversial, and some people are skeptical. Well, is this going to come back in a different form once we approve? And we're looking at, certainly some setbacks might change, some things might change within our.
Okay, very good. Further discussion on that motion to amend? No further discussion? One couple seconds. Roll call vote on the motion to amend, please.
Trustee Wing?
Aye.
Trustee Baum?
Aye.
Trustee Hughes?
Aye.
Trustee Kaminsky?
Aye.
Trustee Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Myers?
I'm voting aye for him, and I do know that his previous vote would have been an aye for the other amendment.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Warren?
Aye.
Trustee Zabel?
Aye.
President Walter?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Back to the motion as amended. Further discussion?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
What's the question? Trustee?
The question would be for the attorney, is there a way to, with the RS4 zoning, if nothing occurs within a 12-month period, can the zoning revert back to what it was originally?
Personally, I believe that the motion, that the amendment you just made accomplishes that task. It's made it contingent, upon receipt of that plat that shows the requisite numbers. And so I think that is, once he's got a plat approved, then they're going to move forward with construction. You're not going to spend the time preparing your plat and getting it ready unless you're going to actually move forward. So I think you've probably already done that.
Well, my question is that once we grant the RS4 zoning, which is what should go with the land, they may not do anything, but the next person that comes up would still have the RS4 zoning. My concern is that if nothing occurs, that the RS4 zoning would go back to what it is now.
Well, I mean, certainly if you wanted to further contingent it and say that you wanted to revert the zoning after 12 months of no construction after the rezoning becomes effective, I think that you could do that. I would caution you on that type of condition though, because depending on Meridian's funding source for their construction loans, some banks will hesitate and block it with type of language, and they may have difficulty financing the project, which I guess kind of goes against the same concerns that we heard from a lot of the residents, that they want to make sure that this happens and moves forward, and that they're not stuck sitting with something that's partially completed. And so I think the way you ensure that is to leave it as is, but if you are concerned, you could certainly add another condition that would say it would revert after 12 months of non-use following the effectiveness.
That's the original point, that since they've already put on it that it has to be a 16 lot, does that stay for perpetuity? For the simple reason that whoever comes in next, if for some reason that it doesn't happen and somebody else picks up the sale of the land and then goes ahead with another development, would that be included in that development too?
I mean, typically what would happen, if they, walked away and there was a plat that was approved, in most cases, my experience has taught me that they just pick up the existing plat and run with it once they're ready to do that. There wouldn't, however, be any requirement that takes place. And so you could have somebody new that came in and come forward and make a new proposal in terms of what they wanted to see for their final plat. It may be something that we just kind of rely a little bit more on staff, to deal with. That if we see that there is, no action that's being put forward in terms of, here's your plat, and now they're sitting on it, that might be the time where we just have staff come back and rezone the property to something that would be appropriate in the mind of the board at that time.
What you're suggesting then, that is, if for some reason that a year from now and nothing developed, that the board itself could propose a rezoning change on a property?
Yeah, I mean, you always have that right. You can change the zoning tomorrow if you want. Well, not tomorrow, because it's obviously you'd have to go through the process of public hearings and everything else. But there's nothing that prohibits the village on its own accord from changing the zoning on any property. The only trick would be is if you are what they call down zoning in the statute, making the uses less than what otherwise would be allowed. You would have to have a supermajority vote of the village board to do that, but you can always change the zoning.
Thinking about it, I think my preference would be to put language or put an amendment out there that the zoning would revert back after a one-year time period from the time of approval.
A one-year time period of what? I mean, what's the criteria?
So the criteria would be that if they would not come forward to develop within a year, that the zoning would go back from the RS4 zoning to what it is now.
That means no development, or they put up one house, or they put in infrastructure and they're still looking to sell a lot?
Well, if they've done that, they've already got the development, they've already got the plat approvals, and they got everything in place, so that would all occur. My concern is that if none of that occurs, In other words, they don't put in sewer, they don't put in roads, they don't do the development. For some odd reason, the economy turns bad, as the people have talked about tonight, and development does not go forward in any way, shape, or form. I mean, if the developer comes in with a preliminary plat, a final plat, and a developer's agreement, he's still going forward with the development. Once the developer's agreement is signed and agreed to, the monies are put aside to do the development at that time. And if he doesn't do it, we have the right to go into it and finish it. My concern is that if he does nothing in 1 year, and the land that sits vacant, the zoning should go back to what it is today.
That is a fair point that you do raise, and it is something that maybe we could incorporate into the development agreement itself as well. That you know, if no construction happens within you know, a certain period of time after the execution of the development agreement, that they would consent to a downzoning of the property should the board choose to do that at that time. We could address your same concern as part of the development agreement too.
Just sort of ask the board if there's a concern one way or the other. What is the board's concern? Which way would they prefer to go?
What I don't want to do is hamstring a developer for the ability to go get loans or to have the ability to not sell because of something that we put on as an amendment. But there are those of us on the board that go back far enough that can remember the Miracle Homes situation, and we can also remember the Blackstone Creek situation where that came out a little bit more successful in regards to the changes that came forward. But Blackstone Creek did start in 2007 into 2008, and then you know, hit some rough parts there that the village board was able to work through and get that to a successful end. But Miracle Homes came forward and went through and got all their approvals, and they started their development, and they put in all kinds of infrastructure and then walked away. So we've seen both sides of that.
Okay, does anybody else have any different opinions or the changes, or otherwise we'll leave it and have the attorney address it in the developers agreement?
As Trustee Miller, I would rather see it in the developers agreement than an amendment to this.
This is Trustee Warren. I guess I would agree with that too. Let's handle it in the developers agreement.
Any comments? Trustee Zabel, you still have the floor.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay. Further discussion on the motion as amended. If anyone needs that, as to where we're at with that motion, that can update us if you so like, but right now we're at discussion. Further discussion.
I'd like to add something.
Trustee Wayne? Okay.
I just want to talk directly to the residents that may still be listening. This has been going on for 17 months. I just want to say how much I appreciate your fight. I admire you. Got accomplished that I could never have done myself. You've done things in the last 17 months that I couldn't do in 10 years. Some of you have been real leaders like Terry Shetter, Jan Miller, Christine. Discussions with communications. And the support you gave me early on when no one else was is I thought it'd be best if I talked to you tonight to tell you why I'm supporting this. 17 months ago, when this passed, only Art and I voted against it. It was 30. families in that area, had great discussions with you. Discussions were about the density. Obviously, everybody would rather see a park there. But see, the problem was we reconsidered the zoning, not the land use. So, very unreasonable for me tonight to vote against this. After every meeting, I've been saying, you gotta match the area, you gotta match the area. RS4, you gotta match the area. Matches the area, the lot sizes are on average bigger than all the lot sizes surrounding it. Move the goalposts in this final hour and say, no, this is not good enough. We want a park. The discussion for a park was to take place during the land use change. We can't turn our whole process on its head because this tonight. Thank Dean Walter also for originally going along with me and having a reconsideration.
Further discussion on the motion as amended. Further discussion. Trustee Zabel?
And I guess I'd want to echo what Dan Wing has stated. Conversations with people over the time, the RS4 does fit the area. The only thing we need to do is just to make sure we protect it so that if this development does not occur, we have a recourse in which to get it back and maybe work with the new owner of the land to get it into a parkland situation.
Further discussion? The only thing I would add is I would echo Dan's sentiments on the residents in that area, and your participation in this process has been amazing and appreciated. You also, your input through all the different meetings that you attended and all the different communication levels that you went through is very much appreciated by me as well. Believe it or not, in most cases, you've won. You've taken something that came in as an RS6, 30-some lots, and you've brought it down to an RS4 with 16 lots. That is amazing. I haven't seen, like Trustee Wingate said, I haven't seen anything like that accomplished on the board since I've been on it. So I congratulate you on the pressure that you posed. I also congratulate you on the professionalism in which you handled yourselves, and you presented all of your comments and your concerns to all of us. I thank you for that. Further discussion? No further discussion? Roll call vote.
Trustee Baum?
Aye.
Trustee Hughes?
Aye.
Trustee Kaminsky?
Aye.
Trustee Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Myers?
I have an aye for Trustee Myers.
Trustee Warren?
Aye.
Trustee Wing?
Aye.
Trustee Zabel?
Aye.
President Walter?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Motion passes. Next item on new business is item F, conflict waiver for Village Labor Council, Von Briesen and Roper for representation of DiscountRamps.com LLC on property assessment matters. Brian, does this fall into your area of information?
Sure. These requests are fairly common that we get, and in fact, there's been some that we've just granted outright because they're just. I mean, it's the conflict was so tangential that it hardly seemed to make sense to even bring it forward. This one is potentially a little bit more direct. However, the attorney, Attorney Gulia, who is our labor counsel, doesn't do any tax assessment work. He's not going to be involved in the case. There's nothing that he is going to learn in his representation of us as labor counsel that in any way is going to help his firm on dealing with the assessment question that is there. And generally the folks at his firm that do the assessment stuff are pretty easy and good to work with as well. And so my recommendation would be to go ahead and grant the conflict waiver so that his firm can handle that work.
Board, questions, comments, motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the conflict waiver for the Village Labor Council.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
I have a question.
Trustee Zabel.
If this is in relation to an assessment at TIF 6, didn't we have that pretty much signed up within the developers agreement?
Yeah, in short, yes. I don't know specifically what the request is with respect to the assessment. And so, obviously I don't know what they're looking for. But we are obviously aware of the fact that the development agreement exists and there were some representations and requirements that are there, and we'll make sure that we're keeping tabs on that as we work through whatever the issue is.
Yeah, because it seems funny, it says it's third-party agreement, so somebody else must own the building or something.
No. Any further discussion? Or do we have a motion, Deanna?
Yes.
And any further discussion?
Yes, you do have a motion.
Thank you. No further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Baum?
Aye.
Trustee Kaminsky? Aye. Trustee Hughes?
Aye.
Trustee Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Myers?
Aye for Trustee Myers.
Trustee Warren?
Aye.
Trustee Wing?
Aye.
Trustee Zabel?
Aye.
President Walter?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, that takes care of all items listed on tonight's agenda under new business. That takes care of all items on tonight's agenda. Before we adjourn, just an announcement that the next regular village board meeting will be on Monday, April 20th at 7 p.m. and in most cases it'll be held in a similar fashion. We do have an election where 2 trustees will be as part of our board now, and Deanna and the village clerk's office will contact those individuals after the election to work out their swearing in and their oath of office to them privately, and then we'll recognize each at the next meeting, as they sit in their seats that they were elected to. If there's nothing else, we can stand adjourned. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you all for participating. And thank you all for watching. Have a good night and be safe.